They told you, never chase women. But here's the truth no one admits. If you don't chase, nothing happens. And if you do, she loses interest. So what's the secret? You don't chase her, you hunt her, not with desperation, with design. You make her feel, not think. You give her emotion, then silence. Warmth, then distance. You appear, then disappear, until your absence starts to hurt. Because when you master rhythm, you stop being the pursuer, you become the gravity. She doesn't chase you for gain, she chases you for feeling. For the mystery, the danger, the calm in your storm. And that's when the game ends. When she's not chasing a man, she's orbiting a force. Be the gravity. Everything else will fall into place. The lie of the chase. They always told you, never chase women. Let them chase you, they said, as if that rule alone could unlock the mysteries of attraction. But then, real life hit you hard, and you saw the brutal truth. Women almost never chase men. You waited, you played it cool. You told yourself, if she wants me, she'll show it. But days turned to weeks, and nothing happened. No call, no message, no spark. And when you finally decided to step forward, to make a move, you watched the interest fade like smoke in your hands. She smiled less, replied slower. Suddenly, the chase was over, and not in your favor. So you're left in the same paradox every man eventually faces. If you don't chase her, nothing happens. But the moment you do, she loses interest. So what's the secret? Is attraction just luck, timing, fate, or is there a code hidden beneath human behavior that only a few ever learn to read? Here's the truth. The problem isn't pursuit. The problem is how you pursue. Because not all pursuit is the same. There are two kinds, logical and emotional. Logical pursuit is when you go after her like a checklist. You try to impress, you text on schedule, you say the right things, do the right moves, and hope logic will make her want you. But attraction doesn't live in logic. It lives in emotion, intention, mystery, and unpredictability. And when you chase with logic, she feels calculation, not connection. You become another man trying to earn her instead of move her. And deep down, every woman knows, a man who tries too hard to win her has already lost himself. But emotional pursuit, that's a different art. It doesn't come from words or plans or effort. It comes from presence, from rhythm, from knowing when to approach and when to disappear. It's not about making her comfortable, it's about making her feel alive. That's the part most men never understand. They think the game is about charm, money, looks. But the real battlefield is invisible. It's psychological. Attraction isn't built by chasing, it's built by pulling. By creating an energy so magnetic she can't explain why she keeps thinking about you. Because the moment she starts to feel you, the logic in her mind begins to collapse. And that's when the game shifts. When you stop chasing from need and start moving from purpose. When your silence carries more weight than another man's praise. When your stillness becomes the thing she can't ignore. That's when she starts to chase you. So before we talk about techniques or tactics, you have to unlearn the biggest lie ever told to men. That chasing women makes you weak. It doesn't. But chasing without power does. Because a true hunter doesn't run after his prey. He studies the terrain. He knows when to move, when to wait, when to let curiosity do the work. He hunts with patience, not panic. And that's what this lesson is about. The psychology behind attraction. Why chasing the wrong way kills desire, and how to awaken a woman's instinct to pursue you. But before we get there, let me take you back a few years. To the story of a man who thought he had everything, and learned the hard way that without emotional power, even kings get ignored. The curse of logical pursuit. A few years ago, I met a man named Roberto. He was the kind of man who turned heads when he entered a room. Owner of 3 restaurants, always in tailored suits. Diamond watch glinting under dim lights. Confidence wrapped in success. Women surrounded him, laughing, touching his arm, whispering in his ear. His phone never stopped buzzing, messages, calls, invitations. To most men, he was living the dream, the kind of man who had figured it out. At first, I thought the same. This guy must know the secret, I told myself. But the more time I spent around him, the more cracks I began to see. The attention looked real, but it wasn't rooted in emotion. The smiles weren't for him. They were for what he represented. They weren't chasing Roberto, they were chasing his lifestyle, the dinners, the gifts, the illusion. That's what I call logical pursuit, when a woman moves toward you not from desire, but from calculation. It's attraction born from reason, not emotion. Her mind makes the decision. If I stay with this man, my life becomes easier. Logical pursuit is neat, organized, and ultimately soulless. It feels good at first. She's around, she's impressed, she laughs at your jokes, but underneath it all, there's no fire. Just quiet expectation. You become her plan, not her passion. One night, after a few drinks, Roberto leaned back in his chair, eyes half tired, half empty. He said something that stayed with me ever since. "Brother, I feel like an ATM with legs. When the money's gone, the love disappears." And he wasn't exaggerating. I watched it happen. The moment his business took a small hit, the women who once fought for his attention vanished overnight. No messages, no calls, no care, just silence. That's the curse of logical pursuit. It's an illusion of affection built on a transaction. She stays while the numbers add up, but the moment emotion demands depth, she's gone. It fails in two ways. First, it's unsustainable. No man can live forever as a provider of novelty and comfort. You can't outspend emptiness. The world always offers someone richer, flashier, newer. Second, it's hollow. Even if you win, you never get what you truly want. You get companionship, not connection. You get validation, not devotion. You wake up next to someone who's present, but not with you. And here's the harsh truth. Most men spend their entire lives chasing this kind of love, confusing attention for affection, presence for passion, compliance for connection. But there's another kind of pursuit, one any man can master. It doesn't depend on status, wealth, or looks. It's not about what you offer her, but what you make her feel. It's the pursuit of emotional gravity, the invisible pull that makes her think of you in silence, miss you in crowds, and crave you without understanding why. That's not logic, that's chemistry, and it can't be bought, only created. Because when you learn to move her emotions instead of her expectations, you stop being her option and become her obsession. The art of emotional pursuit. There's another kind of pursuit, one far more powerful and far more dangerous. It isn't built on logic, it's built on feeling. When a woman chases you emotionally, she can't explain it. She feels it. You slip into her mind like a song she can't stop humming. You become her calm and her chaos at the same time. She checks her phone not because she has to, but because her body wants to. Your silence feels heavier than another man's words. You live inside her nervous system like a beautiful addiction she doesn't want to quit. And here's the secret most men never learn, that addiction can be created. Carefully, intentionally, it's not luck, it's design. Let me show you how it works. Imagine a friend offers you a cigarette. You try it, it's light, harmless. A few days later, he offers another, then another. You don't think much of it until one morning you wake up and your body wants it. And one day he says, "Of course, but now it costs 20 pesos. You smile, reach into your pocket, and pay. You're not buying the cigarette anymore. You're buying the feeling. That's how emotional pursuit works. Only instead of nicotine, the drug is your attention, and the high is your presence. At first, you give her small doses, a glance, a message, a moment that lingers longer than it should. Then you vanish. Silence. No explanation, no closure, just absence. And then, when she begins to forget, you return. A text, a look, a reminder, just enough to make her heart wake up again. Slowly, without realizing, she starts to crave it. Your attention becomes oxygen, your approval, a pulse. You're not the man she likes anymore, you're the rhythm she needs. Now understand this clearly. This isn't manipulation, it's awareness. It's understanding that human desire isn't logical, it's emotional. Women don't fall for comfort, they fall for contrast, for the highs and lows that make them feel alive, for the storm that reminds them they can still feel something real. Predictability kills that spark faster than rejection ever could. The men who lose women aren't the cruel ones, they're the constant ones, always available, always texting, always proving. They smother the very mystery that made her curious. And then they wonder why she drifts away. Simple. Anything too available loses its value. Anything too predictable becomes invisible. But when you move with rhythm, appearance, disappearance, emotion, silence, you become unforgettable. You stop being a person she chooses and become a presence she feels. That's emotional pursuit. Not chasing, not begging, just creating the kind of gravity that pulls her in, even when she tries to resist. Because attraction isn't about having more, it's about making her feel more, and the man who masters emotion never has to chase again. The power of controlled chaos. By now, you understand the pattern. When you chase her with logic, she calculates. When you move her with emotion, she follows. But there's one final layer, one only a handful of men ever master: the art of controlled chaos. Because emotion without control isn't power, it's noise. It burns too fast, too bright, leaving nothing but ashes. Too much fire and she suffocates. Too little and she forgets you ever existed. The secret isn't just emotion, it's rhythm. The precise push and pull that keeps her guessing, feeling, wanting, but never fully possessing. You become the storm, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that awakens everything it touches. You text her when she least expects it. You call her when she's stopped hoping you will. You compliment her, but only when she's earned it. You show warmth, then retreat into silence. Not to punish her, but to remind her of something deeper, that your presence has weight, that your attention has value, because women don't fall for men they fully understand. They fall for men who make them feel, and the unknown always feels more alive than the familiar. Predictability kills tension. Uncertainty feeds desire. That's why the most powerful men aren't the loudest ones in the room. They're the ones she can't read. The ones who make her feel both safe and uncertain, cherished and challenged, wanted, yet never owned. They exist in that sacred middle ground between comfort and chaos. The emotional tension that makes a woman's heartbeat skip when she sees your name. That makes silence feel heavier than words. This is what I call emotional leadership. It's when you set the tempo. You decide when the music plays and when the silence says everything. She feels your absence like a void, but your return like a sunrise. You don't beg for attention, you command it through contrast, because the mind forgets what it understands, but it obsesses over what it can't solve. So you don't chase her, you move and let her follow the motion. You disappear and let her search in the dark. You reappear and become the light she runs toward. Every action you take must carry intention. Every silence must have meaning. Every return must feel earned. That's how chaos becomes control. That's how tension becomes devotion. That's how you stop being a man chasing a woman and become a force she can't escape. Because in the end, the hunter doesn't run after the prey. He moves with precision, patience, and presence, until everything else begins to move around him. That's the power of controlled chaos. That's how she stops walking away and starts orbiting your gravity. The transition from control to connection. Power can make her chase you, but only connection can make her stay. Because attraction built on tension can ignite desire, yet desire alone can't sustain devotion. There always comes a moment, after the chase, after the silence, after the storm, when she stops looking at you with hunger and starts looking at you with questions. Her body may still want you, but her heart is whispering, "Can I trust him? Is there something real beneath the mystery?" And this is where most men fail. They either keep playing the game until she gives up, or they drop the mask too soon until the mystery dies. They don't realize what drew her in won't keep her there. You can't keep a woman addicted forever. Eventually, she wants to feel safe inside the storm you created, but the wise man, he knows when to shift gears, from control to connection. He understands that true power is not in withholding emotion, but in directing it. He lets her see the depth beneath the surface, the calm behind the chaos. He shows that his silence was never coldness, it was discipline. That his control was never manipulation, it was intention. That his strength was never about dominance, but direction. Because once you've earned emotional power, you no longer need to prove it. You lead from presence, not performance. You stop testing and start trusting. And in that shift, everything changes. She begins to see what most women never find: a man who can make her heart race and make her soul rest. A man who doesn't just awaken her desire, but anchors it. Who can hold her chaos without being consumed by it. Who can lead without controlling and love without losing himself. That's the final evolution of pursuit, when the hunter no longer needs to chase because he's become what every woman is unconsciously searching for: safety wrapped in danger, warmth protected by strength, stillness that moves her. He's no longer performing masculinity, he embodies it. He's no longer fighting for her attention, his presence commands it. And she doesn't chase him anymore because she's found something rarer than attraction. She's found respect, the kind of respect that can't be demanded, only inspired. That doesn't come from fear or games or control, but from authenticity, boundaries, and depth. Because in the end, the pursuit was never about women, it was about you. About becoming the kind of man whose gravity doesn't come from status or mystery, but from inner stillness. From a quiet strength the world can feel. When you reach that level, you stop needing to chase. You attract loyalty, you inspire devotion. You build a connection that survives the silence because it was never built on noise. And that's the truth no one teaches you. Chasing gets her attention. Power earns her attraction. But character keeps her heart. The mastery. Living as the gravity. At this stage, the game doesn't just end, it dissolves. Because once you've seen behind the illusions of attraction, control, and connection, you stop playing it all together. You become it. You stop chasing women, success, or validation. Not because you've given up, but because you finally understand how power truly works. You no longer move toward things, you make them move toward you. This is the essence of mastery. Not noise, not struggle, not endless strategy, just quiet certainty. A calm rooted so deep it bends the energy of the room without a word. You walk in, and people feel it before they see it. The stillness that hums louder than confidence, the composure that whispers, "I need nothing from you." That's what draws them closer. Not your words, not your image, your self-containment. You speak less, and your silence carries authority. You give less, and every gesture becomes significant. You move slower, and the world adjusts its rhythm to match yours. You've stopped performing and started existing. This is what women sense but can't explain. They call it mystery, charisma, magnetism, but in truth, it's anchored energy. It's a man who no longer looks outward for permission to be enough. A man who has met his own shadow and made peace with it. Who has turned solitude into strength and presence into art. Because true magnetism doesn't come from charm or talk, it comes from centeredness. When your life already feels full, your presence becomes a portal, an escape from her own noise. When your emotions are mastered, your unpredictability feels exciting, not chaotic. And when your attention is rare, your absence becomes the mirror that forces her to confront what she truly values. You are no longer the hunter or the hunted. You are the terrain itself, still, unmoved, inevitable. The mountain doesn't chase the wind, yet every storm still circles it. From that stillness, everything begins to move. Opportunities, desire, respect. They orbit you naturally, not because you ask, but because you embody what they seek. You've stopped trying to be magnetic because magnetism is the natural consequence of inner alignment. Women don't chase men who need them. They chase men who remind them what freedom feels like. Men who walk alone not from emptiness, but from purpose. Men who radiate enough peace to make chaos question itself. So remember, the goal was never to make her chase you. The goal was to become the kind of man who never needs to chase anything. The kind of man who leads not by motion, but by gravity. Not through persuasion, but through presence. That's the quiet revolution. That's emotional sovereignty. That's the mastery of attraction. Be the gravity. Everything else will fall into place.